Happy National Marriage Week and welcome to week 6. So glad we're together, and here we are at the end, and we've done a wonderful job going through these first 5 weeks. I have really enjoyed seeing your work, as always, every week. Same thing, reading your work and seeing the quality of it, as well as the exploration that each of you are doing. You're bringing those other voices in. We're learning from one another, which is very important. And so I really do appreciate it. Hey, yeah, National Marriage Week. So the 7th through the 14th, actually. So when you're watching this, of course, it'll be a couple days into it. But go to the website, the link that I have in the description below in your the class notes for the week. And so there are some resources there, events, ways that your church or organization can celebrate it. And at the very least, tuck away this week and the celebration each week to be able to, let's promote healthy marriage. Let's promote positive qualities of marriage. And this is one of those ways. It's a national way to be able to promote marriage as much as possible. So that's a good thing. And that could be part of your program. And that's one of the things that I wanted us to explore these last 2 weeks is how do we put it all together? How do we put this in a ministry form? And we did quick hits on everything. We know that as an exploration of the status of marriage in our contemporary culture in light of the historic nature of marriage, and then also the biblical and theological foundations. And then we moved on to how do you help individual couples? What are some of the dynamics with individual couples? And you got a little bit of a taste there. There's so much more, but you were introduced to important people like Scott Stanley and Eric Churlin from a sociological standpoint, and many more in that field. And then Dr. John Gottman, who is the kind of the grandfather of marriage therapy and help, along with others like him from a therapist or counselor standpoint and helping individual couples. You've been introduced to some of those in the book, the reading from this last week, week 5, and then also you're going to continue in week 6 and you're going to complete that book. So some of those same names of people that even cross over from the sociological world to the therapy world or the counseling world, as well as the ministry world, they all kind of connect. So I've mentioned to you once again the National Association of Relationship and Marriage Educators, NARMI is what they're called. There's a conference every year. There's students get a discount for that conference. It's in San Antonio, Texas, this coming July. I'll actually be there and presenting a paper at that conference. It's something that if you're in this lane, if you're in this field, there are plenty there that represent the direction and that you are coming from, and plenty of people from a church background and those from a non-church background, but everyone collaborating in order to help marriage and families thrive. And that's the idea. So if you can take advantage of that, do so. And that's NARME, N-A-R-M-E, I believe, .org. But I'll put a link. I'll put a link in your notes below this video for the week. If I haven't shared that already, I probably have, but just so you have it. Okay, so a couple things. Your final paper is due. This paper is meant to, hear me clearly on this. This is actually, I signed this as kind of a service to you, and that is, you're going to walk away with, yes, turn it in me. I do an excellent academic scholarly work. I'd love to see that, but it really is to serve you, so you have in writing what are your biblical and theological underpinnings and your philosophy of marriage, and then a little bit about how that may play out practically, like, okay, what does that all mean? Because I believe this and this, I see this in the Bible about marriage, I believe this theologically about marriage, I have this philosophy of marriage, and then a little bit of your conclusion at the very least should have, and this fleshes out in this way. You'll take this document then and you'll apply it specifically to your context, ideally. And so when you interview for a job, for a ministry opportunity in your own context that you have there, or as underpinning, some of you may go on and you start nonprofits or you start organizations, you're going to use this as a tool. So that's the purpose behind this paper, this project. I really love to see you invest in this paper. If you have questions on it, once again, reach out. The second thing, and that's the end thing. So actually, before that, I'm assigning an interview for this week. Feels like short notice. I recognize that, but you could pull it off. Search out somebody. Most of you have someone in your life that is doing marriage ministry or connected to marriage ministry in some way. Someone working with couples. And it may be a pastor who really focuses. When I was a pastor for 10 years, I was a lead pastor, senior pastor, but there was a real emphasis in my ministry, my church ministry, where I was passionate about marriages. And so I kind of focused as one of my areas. And every pastor kind of has a focus area, right? They have something, whether it's missions or whether they're excited about children and teens ministry, and so they get behind that, or if the local food banks and clothing supply. I mean, homeless shelters. I mean, each pastor has kind of something that they're passionate about, or a few things. So you may find a pastor or not. You may find a counselor that really their counseling work is primarily focused upon work with couples in one way or another, and they may be good. Now, the warning I would give with both of those ideas of pastors and counselors is if they really if they're just kind of doing it on the side, or if it's not a large focus, they may not be able to give you full answers to your questions, which are your questions need to focus around. And this is in writing, but the questions that you ask need to be focused around our questions together, which are the present status of marriage, their thoughts on that, biblical and theological underpinnings, and then philosophy, and how to work with couples directly. And also then the big thing that I really want to see too is how does your model you're exploring, the individual you're exploring in their model, how do they implement this marriage work? If you find a counselor or a pastor that it's really not enough of their emphasis, or like a counselor just works with a few couples and this part, there really is not a model there. It's just the counseling. Now, they may be able to speak into it, because what if they use an assessment or whatever, but you kind of use your judgment on that. The idea is to find someone that has as wide of a berth, a focus on marriage as their ministry or the work that they do. Now, it could be a social work or something that someone is focused on marriage relationships, but it may not be technically a ministry. But we really want to see them to come from a Christian standpoint, because that's really what we're studying here. That's the nature of the master's degree. So if you have a question on someone about whether they qualify, then reach out, run the name past me. Do it early. Find someone early, and that's why I sent you in your inbox a couple of days ago. I put in your inbox the warning, hey, we're going to be doing this, so make sure you find somebody and get them interviewed early and get this put together, and you're going to write a 600 to 800 word essay as a response to this. Also in that, I mentioned pastors and counselors and social workers, but also there are directors of marriage ministries. Do a Google search, find someone, and people are very busy, but some people are accessible pretty quickly. And so reach out to them, see if you can capture them and to do that interview. And whether it's via email, via phone, or face-to-face would be fabulous, but that takes a little bit more time. So reach out if you get stuck, but please do make a good effort before you reach out. So this week's challenge is to explore different models, so that the idea is after 6 weeks of this course, not only do you understand marriage better from a sociological, a biblical, theological, philosophical standpoint, but also you can practically put into play and work with couples directly, whether they're premarital, whether they're enrichment, remarriage, or crisis couples. And so whatever couple that may be. Let's have a good week together. Let's end strong together this week, and continue to learn from one another. You all are a blessing, and let's continue down the road. Take care.